Hello, everyone. My name is Nauraiz Rana, and I'm an economist with the World Bank. I'll be hosting today's program on New Wave, in which we will be discussing a very interesting topic. We'll be delving into the role of technology, digitalization, and AI, and how it relates to governance and political reforms and overall improvement in service delivery. We'll also be delving into some of the associated challenges, both political, bureaucratic, as well as infrastructure oriented, related to technological interventions. And finally, we shed some light on the ethics of using AI. And in order to kind of unpack all this, I have a very special guest. I would like to welcome and introduce Mr. Azhar Zia Rehman, who's been a management consultant for decades. He's worked with various government departments with the government of Pakistan and also with international organizations such as the UNDP. He has written two books, one of its kind, on governance and the role of technology and how to improve that. So we'll really be unpacking as to what he has found and the key findings identified through his writings. And more importantly, I would like to highlight as well, sir, before I turn to you, that Mr. Azhar has been on the Presidential Committee for Emerging Technologies and Cybersecurity during President Dr. Arif Alvi's tenure as the President of Pakistan. And he has also worked on infusing technology for electoral reforms. So I would really like to welcome you, sir, and thank you for your time. So, I'll just delve right into it without any further ado. And the very first question that I have is pertaining to the imposition of EVMs, electronic voting machines in Pakistan. So there was this push during the previous government's tenure that they wanted to bring in technology and EVMs. However, I mean, theoretically, you would assume that technology, EVMs, digitalization would make the electoral process much more effective, much more efficient. But it still was subjected to a lot of pushback and criticism from various factions, including political factions. There were questions on the role of its authenticity, and some legal and political constraints were highlighted. So, part A, do you agree with the criticism that the imposition of EVMs was subjected to? And secondly, if rightly so, what are some of the key ethical and political barriers, that are related to the acceptance and the incorporation of EVMs in the electoral process?
Thank you, Nauraiz, for having me. I'll take a step back and look at the issue of EVMs from a wider perspective, a much wider perspective, and which is the transformation of how the government works. So when we say government, it consists of three parts: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. So we cannot take the issue of EVMs separately. We'll look at it from a wider perspective. The issue of transforming the governance of government is basically the issue of bringing the fourth industrial revolution to a country. Now, what is the fourth industrial revolution? The fourth industrial revolution is not technology. All the technology components were there before the fourth industrial revolution started, but they were being used in silos. What the fourth industrial revolution did was to make them be used with synergy. So if you use 5 technologies with synergy, there is an exponential effect in the benefit that you get out of them. And that is what the fourth industrial revolution is. So what you need to make the fourth industrial revolution successful is good governance. And that is not there. That is not there in any country. So let's come to the details. Let's talk about the legislature. How can they come into the fourth industrial revolution? The democracy starts with electing somebody, electing the people's representatives. But there's a long process which is partly documented and partly not documented. The pieces of it which are documented are the voting process. For example, process of nominating somebody to stand in an election, that is documented. That is partly automated. But the part which deals with the actual voting is also documented, but it's not automated. And that's got 2 parts. The first part is voting on the site. You go somewhere, the polling station, and vote. The other one is you sit at home and vote. So the government had, actually the law has two parts. There are two laws, one which deals with the expats voting from wherever they are using internet, and the other one is voting using a machine which is called electronic voting machine on the polling booth site. Let's take both of them one by one. Let's take the EVM first. The process of voting is a very simple process, about 8 or 10 steps, but that is where a lot of fraud happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you automate that part, 95% of those frauds can be controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the main opposition to this is that the EVM can be bugged.
Mm.
No, it cannot be bugged because it doesn't, the way it was designed in Pakistan, it has no connectivity.
Right.
It doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't connect to the internet. It doesn't connect to a printer. It doesn't connect to anything outside that box.
Mm.
Only output from that box is a printed document.
Mm. Oh, wow.
And once that printed document comes out of the machine, the rest of the process is manual as it is today.
Right.
So there is no reason for criticizing the machine because it cannot be bugged. Yes, there are ways it can be fooled, but all of them have been taken care of in the design that we had in Pakistan. Every criticism was addressed. We had long meetings with everybody, and all the issues were settled.
That's a very interesting insight.
And the machine is a very, very simple machine. It is just a 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 calculator. It can be nothing simpler than that. It is a very small PC board with probably 5 or 6 chips and some other components. Very simple. The complicated part of that is the screen where you can vote.
Did it also incorporate the process of identifying who the votee is?
No. This covers only the voting process strictly, only the voting process. That's a separate process which is automated separately. So the voting process is separate, it's isolated, nothing can be done to it. And the whole EVM can be manufactured in Pakistan, not in one company, but in the many companies which can do it. Everything that is in an EVM can be manufactured in Pakistan with great efficiency at a very low cost. The costs that are being quoted are exorbitant. No, that they're wrong. The cost is very low. The only opposition to EVMs is political. There is no technological opposition to EVMs. It's a very simple thing. That takes care of the EVM aspect. Now let's come to the electronic voting aspect. That is controversial, yes. It has been tried in many countries, and it can always be bugged somehow. So that is where a lot of research is being done worldwide, and there are conferences held every year where that process is being improved, and higher technology is being used to make it foolproof. Does that answer your question?
That absolutely does. So basically, the process which involves expats voting in the elections, that process needs to be further tightened up. So there are possibilities of that being bugged or that being rigged. Right, perfectly. So actually, I want to zoom out a little bit more and talk about the broader institutional landscape in Pakistan with respect to accepting technology, because nowadays a lot of the processes are still very much manual. They are very much paper based. And do you think, is this because we do not have the infrastructural capacity or the ability to transform those processes, or is that again something strictly like the intention is not there? And if that is the case, in your experience working with the government counterparts, why is that so?
It's all of this and more. One of the major reasons is that it is not considered a transformation project. It is considered a digitalization process. And when the word digit comes in, they think it's IT. And this is totally wrong. This is an accepted fact that transformation projects fail because they are handed over to IT. The IT people, I was an IT person 2 decades ago, but then I grew up. I grew up. Now I'm a transformation person. IT people are not trained, not educated to handle projects. They handle IT, they handle technology.
Exactly,
So
yes.
they start finding the solution from the wrong end. First thing they think of is a computer. Which computer should we use? Which network should we use? Which connectivity should we use? Right? That's the wrong end. Technology is become meaningless today. The problem is business. And if you look at my latest book, which is all in transformation, I describe how the transformation can be done, should be done. The first thing is when you're transforming an organization, the first thing is that you must understand the business. You must document the business. And in documenting the business, you have to make a lot of documents. One of the most important of them is a value chain. So when you create the value chain, you know exactly what happens in an organization, what is transformed in an organization, what are the inputs and what are the outputs, and during this process, what processes are used, what data is created, and what skills are used. So those have to be documented. There's nothing IT here. There's no IT here. This is all business, and that is a big problem. Our business schools, the world over, don't teach all of this. They teach very fancy things, but they don't teach transformation. They don't teach governance. I've been to so many business schools, I've talked to so many deans, but they don't teach governance. They don't teach transformation. And that's the problem. So there's nobody in the market who can do transformation. People from IT mostly, they convert into professionals for transformation like me. So,
but I mean, the world over, like you rightly mentioned, this is the age of fourth industrial revolution. I mean, Pakistan was not, when the actual industrial revolution happened, Pakistan was not a formed entity at that moment. It hadn't gained independence, and we missed that pool of development. So we're very much in the developing stage. But technology, it offers any country the opportunity to leapfrog those phases of development and actually catch up with the rest of the world. And this transformation, like you said, has been happening quite over. With respect to, like strengthening the private sector, there's one-stop shops, there's business registration, licenses, and approval processes. But in Pakistan, processes as mundane as notarization or getting your, university degree validated or verified, it's still very much, manual. So it's hard for anyone to fathom that a country like Pakistan, with the kind of labor pool that we have, and people are skilled, they do not have the capacity to digitalize or to transform. But then it seems as if there's a lack of intent or willingness, because it helps sustain the status quo in terms of how bureaucratic procedures are done, and from how bureaucrats really validate their power. They extract their power by the fact that there is their need for them, and there's the need for their manual approvals. Do you also face that? Do you think that is very much true and part of the problem?
Yes and no. Actually, we can benefit from not having done these things so far. We can learn from the wrongs that happened in, for example, in the Middle East. I've been in the Middle East for 30 years now, and I've seen what mistakes they've made. They're now going through the fourth iteration of redoing things. We can learn from their 3 iterations and do the things the way they should be done. Now, how it can be done in any third world today? Let's take Pakistan. The government needs, let's talk about the executive first, right? They say that the bureaucrats don't want transformation, right? But why don't they want transformation? There's a good reason for it. And the good reason is that the bureaucrats are trained to run things as they are. They've taken oath to preserve the status quo. They've taken oath to run things as they were taught to them. They were never trained to improve things. It is not their mandate. They never. Their oath doesn't say that they'll improve things. Their oath says that they run things the way they're trained to. They're meant to be run. So you cannot expect the bureaucrats to improve things. You've got to bring in people from outside with a fresh view from outside the box, with a fresh view to improve
Absolutely.
things. Now that was tried, but the mistake was done. That was done. Two mistakes were done. The transformation was entrusted to IT people. What they did was they took individual processes and automated them. That is not what is wanted or what was required. The whole system was supposed to be transformed.
Yes.
Then it was given to people like Dr. Ishrat Hussain, who was just a bureaucrat. And he's not capable of thinking outside the box. He had good ideas. I had long sittings with him. He knows what is wrong with the present system. He knows what the new system should be. But he doesn't have the capability or the skills or the experience to move from the old system to the new system.
Absolutely. Right? He belongs to a generation of experts and bureaucrats in whose time the processes were done very differently.
Exactly. How the question is, how should it be done? And it's very simple, very simple. In the bureaucracy in Pakistan, there are four gods. Those gods have to be converted. They have to be converted to agree with transformation. The first and the biggest god is the secretary to the prime minister. He controls everything. He has to be converted. He has to be taught that, or he has to be made to believe that transformation is required. So that's the first person to be transformed. The second one is the cabinet secretary. He is the link between the ministries. He is the most powerful person after the prime minister secretary, because he knows everything that's happening in the government. The third person is the establishment secretary. That's the guy who places the bureaucrats, who transfers the bureaucrats. He knows which bureaucrat is good where, or which bureaucrat can be good where. That's the third person. And the fourth god is the auditor general, because his job is to make sure that the things are run the old way. That's his job. He's not supposed to transform things. He's supposed to make sure that the things are run as they are documented to be run. So these four gods have to be converted. They have to be fresh people have to be brought in with the right mindset, and using them, the executive can be transformed. It's not difficult. It can be transformed. The first thing will be to document the business. Document the business. Find the data. Make an architecture of the data. Redefine the processes. Redefine the skills. Now you've got a solid base. Using that solid base, then you can start redesigning the processes, combine the processes into applications. And once you've got applications, then now you can, for the first time, you can bring in the IT people. Tell them that, look, we need these 500 applications. Go ahead and make them and implement them. That's how it should be done. So that was about the executive. Similarly, if you come to the judiciary, the judiciary is nothing but a conglomerate. You have to look at the judiciary as a conglomerate. It is I think 5-level or 6-level conglomerate. It's a very simple conglomerate. I've worked for large conglomerates like Salat and like Dubai Holding. They're huge conglomerates and very complex. In the judiciary, you've got 5 levels there's a 5-level conglomerate, and all the sessions courts are similar. All the city courts are similar. All the high courts are similar. The Supreme Court is just one court. So it's very simple to transform the judiciary, apart from the political issues. But the political issues are always, in every transformation project that I've handled, there are political issues at different level. And the political issues are handled by technology. You design the processes so that there's no difference between the new process and the old process.
Yeah, exactly.
And then gradually you tweak the process. So that the process starts behaving in a very different way, very gradually, and nobody finds the difference. So that's how you can change I've had the discussion with some high-ups in the judiciary, and they agree that this is how it's done.
Yeah, and I was actually going to question you about the judicial process and the judiciary as well, because currently I think we have over 2 million cases that are pending as per the latest records and data. And in the Supreme Court alone, I think there are over 60,000 cases which remain pending. And humanly, it's just impossible for the number of allocated judges that we have in comparison. If you look at the ratio to the number of judges and the pending cases, it's a perpetual process, and will always go. There will always be pending cases, no matter what we do. And it has both social, economic, and political implications for the country, and it deters the process of growth and development. So, how can AI, transfusion, and technology be leveraged to address these gaps?
Most of these cases are simple cases which can be decided by AI. But AI is very unethical by its very nature, because AI is not transparent. Nobody knows how it takes decisions. I'm writing a book on AI ethics, but so you have to manage the AI ethics. How? The first thing is that let the AI take the decision, make the decision, write the decision, but the final decision authority should be with a human being. Suppose a simple case takes 2 days with the judge. The AI can decide it in 5 minutes, and the judge can spend another half an hour to see if the AI has done right.
Right. If I may, over here, so, I just wanted, sorry for interrupting you, but I've done some work on digital development myself, and AI is only as good as the amount of data that you input into it. And data itself has certain biases. For example, if data has been run by a male-dominant interpreters, then it has automatically, there's a gender bias that kind of feeds into it without both the person who's setting up the AI or the AI itself realizing that. So gender bias is one. There are ethical biases. There are various biases that creep into it. And in Pakistan, do you think that we also have enough data that, that there's enough information and data that can be leveraged to create AI models which are much more efficient or significant in their operations? Just part B of the question.
I'll agree with you what you said, but I'll add to it. The bias is there not only in data, the bias is there inherently also in the algorithms used. So there are two places where there's bias. The book I'm writing, I've in great detail, I've mentioned how can these biases be cross-checked? What kind of tests should be done before an AI system is allowed to be used? There's a big sequence of tests that has to be done, which were not there in traditional systems. So yes, you're right. That issue is there. That's the main issue with AI. And that has to be tackled. But we have enough data, yes. We've got enough cases from the British periods from probably 1920 or 1900 till now. And those cases can be entered into can be taught to the AI. And based on those, it can take decisions. So I don't think there's any lack of data in Pakistan on that. Probably India has done something we can learn from them. We can take the data from them for cases up to 1947 or even afterwards, because we have the same law. So probably the cases can be taken from India as well and elsewhere, and that can be a very, very rich set of data. But the algorithms will have to be cross-checked manually, and that can be a very difficult process.
Perfect. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to, from learning from your own experience, I believe you were there during PTS tenure. Please correct me if I'm wrong, when you were part of the presidential committee. So like you mentioned, these 4 gods that you've identified, who are very much instrumental and key to shaping Pakistan transformation. Did you feel that in the previous government's PTS tenure, there was this nudge or this acceptability towards transforming? That's the basic first step. Did you feel that the air was changing a little bit, or you felt as if there was still a lot of barriers coming from within the system that inhibited this transformation?
Probably President Alvi was one person who wanted transformation, but probably that feeling or that desire was not there even at the minister's level. That's my personal experience. I may be wrong. It was not there even at the minister's level. Of course, the secretaries, you cannot expect them because they're bureaucrats. There was no planned effort for transformation. But whenever you go for transformation, the very, very first thing you do is to implement governance. And there was no governance, and still there is no governance. There are no rules for governance. There are no formal processes for governance. There are no formal structures for governance. Probably, if there's a government, or even the present government, if they want to do something seriously, the first thing they have to implement is governance. Very strict governance, by which, following which, everything should be done. That's my personal feeling. I may be wrong.
And how do you view the future? Like, are you optimistic about it? Are you pessimistic about it? Because, like you said, that technology is not just about it is about transformation, but it has huge impacts on your economy as well. That has been faltering for the last many years now. Actually, I would say for the last decades, Pakistan has been caught up in this debt trap. It's the same cyclical motion. We are literally just going down. We're spiraling downwards. And right now, we've seen industries flourish, countries develop alone on the basis of their IT sector exports and the service industry flourishing due to the advent of technology. And Pakistan really needs to capitalize that, leverage that, optimize its advantages. Do you think, are you optimistic? Can we get there? Do we have the right infrastructure foundations to get there as well?
I think we've got no choice. The system that we have today is bound to crash, to collapse. And then we'll have to build up a new system from scratch. We have no choice. We have the only choice we have is to start rebuilding it before it collapses completely. We've got the skills, we've got the people, we've got the resources. It's not very expensive. Don't bring in the big names from outside. Don't bring in the big five and all those consulting firms. They charge billions, and they're not good. They're not better than us.
100%.
Spend all those money on those foreign consultants. We've got enough consultants in those companies. Bring them back, and let's rebuild Pakistan.
That's actually a great takeaway, I think, and I would really like to highlight that, emphasize about that. Thank you for sharing that. I think we have enough resources, both in terms of capital and the intellectual bank that we have that exists within the country, and we can literally leverage our own internal resources to spur this transformation. So on that note, thank you so much for your time. It was lovely speaking with you and getting to learn a lot about the functioning of governance, technology, and AI.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank you.